Hi, I'm NxT, and this is my tour baggage. The city I would most like to move to one day, I'm not sure whether to live, but just to spend a bit more time and get to know it a bit more, is Miami. Spent quite a lot of time there. Went to a couple of winter music conferences back in 2003, 2004. Really, when I wasn't really involved in the industry as such, more just a DJ kind of knocking on the door and trying to, get to know what it was all about. Went over with my wife and just kind of had such a great time and really liked how the place was. It was kind of a trip to the WMC, but also holiday. So we spent some time down in the Keys. Spent some time in the more historic parts of the town, found some really nice food places that we just loved and have always gone back to. And obviously I really like the weather, the climate, the beach. It seems to tick a lot of boxes. The diversity in people, really just so much to see and kind of get to know there. It really excites me when I fly in every time and you kind of see the Everglades and the beautiful blue ocean, like shallow ocean. And also I've got family ties in Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean, and it's actually really close to there as well. And I know a lot of my family get over to Miami for holidays and stuff when they want to get away. So yeah, Miami. So last time I got into trouble in a hotel, I confess, I'm not that bad a boy kind of thing. I'm quite good usually with my hotels and stuff, just because I know that they're really kind of, end of the day, they're doing a favour by having this kind of DJ stay there with all the risk that might carry for some. But I'm quite good generally. I think the place I sometimes get into a bit of trouble is for the times when it might be a more kind of crew style event, like if we go to, Leeds, do something at the Mint Warehouse, or if it's ADE when everyone's there, everyone's there and everyone's kind of catching up, having a good time. It's just always making sure that late checkout is late enough, and like not being somewhere and you realise you haven't arranged it the day before and you haven't kind of called in the morning, when you've come into the after party, need to call the hotel sort out the checkout. So just that can be quite stressful. You're somewhere and you really don't want to leave, but you realise you haven't done your late checkout phone call. And again, like I say, I never push things too much, so I've pretty much always managed to arrange it. I haven't never got back yet and my stuff's been kind of, in the foyer or anything. But yeah, so that's probably where I struggle most in my hotels, definitely. So we went over to Bali for kind of almost a week. I had a gig over there, and we also I'd never been before, just really wanted to go and spend some time there, and we were lucky enough to do that. And just the beauty of the place, we got to spend some time up the coast at a place called Padang, which when we arrived at night, and kind of we just slept in this kind of top bit of where we were staying in the villa, just almost outside, in nature kind of thing, which is brilliant. And then waking up in the morning to the kind of distant green hills with the mist and the boats just chugging along, in the sea, and just seeing that marvelous scenery. The food is incredible. People so friendly as well. One day we went out in the morning at 5 a.m, did like a sunrise boat trip, just the three of us, and that was amazing, and then traveling back down to where I was playing in Canggu, and just seeing the kind of amazing layout of the streets and the shops, and everything's kind of on top of each other and really bustly. So yeah, and that really kind of struck me as a really interesting place. So I never get on a flight without water. I'm quite obsessed with having enough water when I travel, especially long haul. Always take 3 750s with me. I buy them at the airport just because I hate to get dehydrated. And as soon as you have a glass of wine or something, even if you just have one, you just get so thirsty, So I always take plenty of water. Always take some nuts and fresh fruit, because I don't like the fruit in the little plastic things on the airplanes. Never tastes great. And I always take some nuts and snacks just in case we kind of get delayed and all the food's run out, and I get a bit obsessed and panicky about that. It's a bit silly, but I do it anyway. And also, like, with kind of time management in your flight, especially if you're going to DJ and you need to get a good amount of rest, I always like if I'm getting ready to sleep, get myself comfortable, go to the loo, get ready, everything, get myself comfortable. Always look at the clock on the in-flight thing and make a mental note of the time, because the worst thing is when you wake up, like you think you've slept brilliantly and you start waking up and like you've slept for like an hour and a half of like an 8-hour flight. It can happen, you can kind of trick yourself. So I always look at the clock, and then like as soon as I feel myself waking up, open like a crack of one eye and just see if I've slept for long enough. And if I haven't, then I just go straight back to sleep again without waking up properly. So I always do that, definitely. So the most surreal thing that's ever happened to me on my travels is a few years ago I was playing in Cape Town, and that's about an 11-hour flight usually, and so it's a day flight, so you're kind of awake most of the time. That was a day flight, so you kind of, by the end of it, you are feeling quite tired and a little bit, because you don't sleep as much as you usually would, and kind of get off the plane, you kind of get that little wobbly leg thing a little bit, but you're okay. But anyway, I went through, sorted out my bag, sorted out my passport, and then got on the phone to the driver, and got hold of the driver pretty promptly, all good, nothing out of place. And then we had quite a brief conversation, and he informed me he was the one in the denim. Look for me, I got the denim shorts or the denim shirt or whatever it was, can't quite remember. So I thought, great, okay, got that, went to the first person I saw with said denim item somewhere on their body and a phone. Went, say, hi, how you doing? Say, okay, yeah, good, thank you. Are you here to meet you? Yeah, thanks, great. Let's go. Set off to the car park, which is about a 3-4 minute walk to the car park in Cape Town. You come out and you walk out and you go down this thing and you go up, and then we're just getting in the lift to go to where his car was, and he was like, so you're here for rehab? And I was like, no, I'm here to DJ. And at that point, kind of like pressed the button on the door to stop it kind of closing. And then, how fast your brain can work sometimes. I just did a whole movie script in my mind about how this guy, is going for rehab, maybe decides he doesn't want to do it at the last minute, says, I'm DJ, I'm here to DJ, and the pickup guy's like, yeah, all right, kind of like come with me, So yeah, that was probably the most surreal thing. Luckily, that didn't happen, and he just said, okay, yeah, probably got the wrong person, and I kind of went on my way and actually met the right person in the airport foyer. The most unique place I've played is Duck Island in New Caledonia. It was my last Australia tour, which was Easter 2019. It was the second gig. The first gig was in Melbourne, and then the second gig we went to New Caledonia, and it was just incredible. New Caledonia is an island in the Pacific. I think it's on the other side of New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. So it's out in the Pacific. And so you fly out, you take 2 flights from, I think it was Melbourne to Sydney and then Sydney to New Caledonia, about 4 hours. Just a really remote island, we got there about 6 p.m. We drove to the corner of the island where Duck Island is, me and Pepperpot and John Pierre. And when the time came for the gig, kind of left the hotel, and you get on a really, really small boat with all the party goers. You're just on the jetty there. And obviously it's night time by there, it's dark, and you go out into the sea about five minutes, like speeding along in the pitch black, arrive on this kind of island. No one lives there. It's just the venue where they hold the events, and it's just, it's beautiful. You walk up off the boat, up the sand, and it's all beautifully decorated because the crew that run it are really like creative and artistic. It's certainly the most unique place I've played, and even at the end, when you're going back and it's kind of 2 a.m. I think the party officially finishes at 2, but because everyone has to leave the island before they can kind of call it a night, apparently they have music on quite quietly, and while the boat just brings, you only bring about 10-15 people back at a time. And I think I left about 2 a.m. and then certainly getting back on the boat after playing and after having a couple of drinks and then racing back in the pitch black on there was quite really kind of quite lively, definitely really good fun. The daftest thing I've ever done while travelling, that was, again, on the Bali trip, funnily enough. It was a day after I did the gig, and I was travelling on to Thailand to play the next gig of the weekend. And this is the one when I, got up, everything's fine, had breakfast, jumped in with the driver, all chatty, all happy, get to the airport, check my phone again, and I'd done this typical thing that I do have a tendency to do, which is kind of look at the minutes but not the hour, and I maybe get it one wrong. So I think the flight was at 11:30, and instead of arriving at 10:20, I arrived at 11:20 basically. So I totally missed the flight, and I think that's the first flight I'd ever missed it with DJ. I missed one flight years ago, but I was just going on holiday. That was the first flight I'd ever missed, and that was pretty daft. But the daftest thing I've ever done was then go into the airport, have a brief panic, but think, hey, it's okay, I can sort it out. Booked another flight, straight away, excellent. 3 hours time. I had time to go and have food, and had some really nice food and a coffee, and call my wife, say, oh, I've done this, but everything's fine. Went to check in for the next flight 3 hours later, and the person like, you're not on this flight. I said, no, sir, here's the confirmation. I booked the next flight for the day after. And so, and I was sat there and I think, right, okay, now I'm in a bit of trouble, I booked the flight for the day after, so I'm not, I couldn't get on the flight. It was full, it's a holiday weekend or something. So, I did manage to book a third and final flight. It's kind of like the last flight I could take, and I'd been in the airport by then about 8 hours or something. I had to fly via Singapore, but I still got there. Unfortunately, had to, by then, being so late, we just had to race from the airport in Thailand to the hotel, quick shower, and then straight to the gig. That's definitely the daftest thing I've done, booking that flight for the next day, the backup flight. So loneliest I felt travelling, and it's silly because I wasn't really lonely. I was with people, but it was a long haul. I think it was a long haul, and it was the third gig of the weekend, and I've got better at planning my travel than I used to. I used to not plan my travel properly and didn't have enough time to rest properly. So I hadn't had enough rest. And by the third day, it was busy. It's a big, busy city, and lots of traffic. And I thought I'd get to sleep, and I didn't. And this and that, and like the gig was a 4 hours drive away. And it was long drive as well. Quite a language barrier and everything like that, with the people. Everyone was lovely, but by then, you're just so tired, and you want to sleep, and you're excited, and you just kind of, your head's just spinning. And at the same time, back home is one of my best friends' 30th, I think, or something, and people sending me pictures and messages and stuff, yeah, that was probably like the most kind of lonely stroke, like you're torn, you know what I mean, when you kind of like, you got all this going on and you want to be enjoying this, but your mates having like this really special important party, and where you are just a bit kind of stretched in your own kind of being. That's probably where most I felt like that when touring. So the worst flight I've ever had was a flight from Amsterdam to Ibiza. It was ADE about 3 years ago. Fuse had done a party in Warehouse Element Strap, I think one of the height ones. And we went to Brett afterwards, invariably, as you do. It's the first time we'd been to Brett, and we really wanted to check it out. But on the flip side, it was one of our best friend's birthdays in Ibiza. He had a villa. So, we went to Brett, left Brett, went straight to the airport via the hotel to pick up stuff. And had some noodles in the airport, everything, feeling quite chipper really, considering, hadn't any sleep there. And got on the plane, and then two things. Incredible heat. It was just so hot on this aeroplane. Sometimes when you sat, I think, on one side, and the sun, and so if it's a daytime flight, the sun's kind of on the shell of the aircraft, and it just heats it up. And maybe the aircon weren't working or something, because it was just so hot, and it was so uncomfortable. And add into that the most incredible ear, like when your ears are blocked on a flight. And it wasn't when it was descending, it was in the cruise, like at the top, and it must have been something to do with air pockets or air pressure on the day that the plane was flying. It's the most incredible I almost kind of, you almost feel like you've gone deaf, you know, because of that, and the heat and that. It just felt like a 6 hour flight, you know, and it was literally probably only an hour and a half, but it was so uncomfortable, and I was just so happy to get off in Ibiza and then get to our mates party. But it's definitely the most awful flight I've had. Hi, this is Rich NxT. Thanks for watching. This is the RRP.